Ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome to the Ed Buggs Show.
Are you ready?
Real talk, real people. This is the show where people just like you get to talk about the news and what's really going on.
Shout here.
Along with show producer Matt Moscona.
Biggest names in talk radio.
They tackle some of the hottest, most controversial topics that affect your life.
I don't agree with them all the time, but I appreciate the discussion.
Buckle up and get ready. Now here's your host, Ed Buggs.
Go on the bump and cue Ed.
Thanks, Matt Moscona, and welcome aboard, everyone. The Ed Buggs Show. Real talk, real people, along with Josh and Tommy and Dirk and the man at the helm this afternoon, Matt Moscona. I'm Ed Buggs. Matt, good to see you back again, my friend. Is that the your favorite paisley shirt?
Not my favorite. I have a couple others that are actually a little silk with the paisley design.
Is
on
that
it.
coming back or something? I see you got the blue collared shirt on there, and
Let's just put it this way. My grandfather, and this is, I won't bore you with this.
Yeah.
It'll be quick.
Good.
His entire upstairs is full of all of his old clothes because he has a theory that every single clothing style will recycle, and I think he's right.
oh, it will.
And
It'll be a while before the bell-bottom pants.
back now.
Bell-bottom pants are back?
Girls wear bell bottoms. Yes, they do.
Huh.
Girls wear bell bottoms, and what do you call them? Platforms? Platform shoes.
That's back?
That is back. That has been back. Bell bottoms and platforms.
Huh.
Leisure suits.
Yeah.
I have. There you go. I have pirated a few of my grandfather's leisure suits. Just ripped them right out of his closet.
Disco.
They don't quite fit him anymore.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Don't wear that, Matt. Don't wear that.
I'm styling it.
Yeah.
It's not about the clothes. It's about the man in the clothes, and I make those clothes look good. I do. I make paisley.
Wait a minute.
look
What
good.
was that line? What was Will Smith's line?
You know the difference between you and me? I make this look good.
That's right. That's right. All right.
Men in Black, of course.
Men in Black. That's right. Was the movie. Boy, I'll tell you. This hour we talk about a shocking story out of Central Florida, Ocala, Florida, to be precise. And by now, some of you are putting two and two together. This is a story that is in very poor taste. This is a story that shocked the nation. This is a story that makes parents and grandparents really think about their children. This is a story that makes a lot of men blush, but shouldn't. And this is a story that is really not a high five. Some people think it's a high five. I don't. I'm talking about the case of the woman, the former middle school teacher, accused of having sex with one of her students. Remember this one? I know you remember this one. Deborah Lafave, 25 years old, who, over the course of 5 days, according to the 14-year-old boy, had sex with him on 4 different occasions, at her home, on the back seat of a car while the boy's 15-year-old cousin drove around town. Oh, this was way out of control. Have you been following this one? The big twist that puts it on the front pages today is that the charges against this woman have been dropped. That's right, dropped. Dropped like a hot potato. She's free. Free. Well, essentially free. There's some home detention she's going to have to serve, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But let me ask you something. Let's turn the table around here for just a moment. Do you think for a moment that if this teacher had been male and the 14-year-old had been a young girl and the same thing had happened, do you think for a moment these charges would be dropped? I don't think so. I think you and I agree. This man, if it had been a man, would be under the jail by now. Under the jail by now. Now, the prosecution maintains that they agreed to drop these charges to save the publicity for this 14-year-old boy. I'm sorry, I'm not buying this. I am not buying this. This is a sick woman. Now, a moment ago, I told you that some people call this a high five story, and this is an adult show, so I'm not going to go into grave detail there. But there are many men who will hear this story of this 14-year-old boy and say, yeah, go ahead, boy, your teacher. No, that is sick thinking. Because this 14-year-old boy, who like most 14-year-old boys should be focused somewhere else, many will tell you is changed for the rest of his life. He's altered for the rest of his life. When most 14 and 15 and 16-year-old boys are working on other things, where do you think this kid's mind is? Whatever normal adolescence this child might have had is gone. When I was 14, we had what we called I was just about the time getting into what they used to call a slow drag. This is when you go to the dance or to the party and you dance with a girl slow, okay? And you get kind of tight. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. It's a family show. I'm going to leave it at that. But, while I was at 14 and 15 into the tight at the parties, I didn't know what else there was. And looking back now, that was okay. That's all I needed to know at the time. This boy, in the meantime, oh man, what's going through his head when he sits in a class now and looks at a teacher? Huh? What's going through this boy's mind now when he sees other girls his age? Is he thinking about that teacher? And for so many generations, you thought of a 14-year-old men thought of a 14-year-old boy as having sex as, yeah, you the man. No, forgive me. He's not the man. He's not a man at all. But my central question to you this hour is this. Is this justice? Had that teacher been a man and the student been a 14-year-old girl, do you think for a second he'd be walking free tonight, literally free? Talk to me. Call me now at 499-BUGS, 499-2847, or shoot me an email. Send it now to ed@edbugs.com. To the phones we go. I see Christy holding on line 2. Hello, Christy. Welcome. You're on the air.
Hey, Ed. We actually have a very bad connection, so I can hardly hear you. But,
Okay.
I'll just be real quick.
Okay.
Initially, I thought the same thing, that it was a double standard just because, she's considered the hot teacher.
Yes.
But, you and I have also talked about my case before with the DA in Baton Rouge. My 4-year-old was molested, and it was by her father. And I ended up having to do the second mortgage on my home, and I had to pretty much finance about $60,000 to defend her in family court to
Yes.
protect her. And it was the same scenario. And so there's really not a double standard. It's very, very common that the DA will not prosecute tons of people for molestation just because of the child if they don't think that's
But this is not, but this is not a 4-year-old. This is a 14-year-old.
I agree, but if they think it's not going to be a good witness,
Right.
they don't even pursue it. And they don't think he'll be a good witness because he is considered hostile because he doesn't want to do it. You have to have a witness who's wanting to help.
All right, Christy, thank you.
Thank
Good to talk with you, my friend, at 499-BUGS, 499-2847. I am shocked by this. I'm outraged by this. If it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. If a male teacher would have been crucified for this, shouldn't the same happen for a female teacher?
This is Talk Radio.
I just wanted to
Talk Radio.
add my 2 cents in.
The way I like it.
I'm a first-time caller.
First-time caller.
This is my first time calling.
I'm a first-time caller. Hey, thanks for taking my call.
That's all I have to say, and I really appreciate your show.
This is the Ed Buggs Radio Show. Real talk, real people.
Thank you, Matt Moscona, and welcome back, everyone, to the Ed Buggs Show. Real talk, real people. Good to have you here on 1550 AM WPFC. We're talking about the case of Deborah Lafave, who today had all charges against her dropped. She is that notorious woman in Florida who admits having had a sexual encounter, actually several encounters, with one of her middle school students, the boy, 14 years old. I want you to hear some of her comments today. Interestingly, there was a press conference, a news conference, with her and her lawyer, John Fitzgibbons, and her parents and fiance standing behind her. Ooh, I don't know. Oh, I don't know. I'm engaged to a beautiful woman. Beautiful on the inside and on the outside. But if she was a school teacher, and as the case is with Deborah Lafave, according to the prosecution, on 4 different times, my fiance was involved with one of her students, including on the back seat of a car while driving around the city, including once, according to the charges, at her home. Ooh, I don't know. You know, that's some love. That's some real understanding. Matt, are you feeling me here?
Well, she was married at the time.
Yeah, but
and they're divorced.
They're
so
divorced.
This guy has come since the incident.
I don't know.
Child has problems.
That child has some issues,
it's not a question.
man.
I know pretty darn well.
I don't know, man. Let me get this.
I'm not having my good-looking wife potentially leave me for a 12-year-old.
But let's put this in perspective based on what you just said. She was married to one guy.
Talk about a shot at the pride.
Messing around with these boys, these children, 14 years old. That's a child.
Well, he was 12 when it happened. The kid's 14 now, right?
That's right, 14
right?
now. Fooling around with these children while she was married. Now I come along and I'm going to stand behind you at the press conference? Ooh. All I can say is that, no, I'm not going there. That's love.
I love you. Seen the pictures of her. It could be a little more than love.
Oh, she's
a knockout.
She is a fox. She is 2 foxes in one. She's a very attractive woman. Very attractive woman. But always in the back of my mind. See, that's in the back of my mind. Honey, I'm checking my watch. I thought you were supposed to be here 10 minutes ago. You weren't at the middle school, were you? You know,
Well, legally, she can't interact with children anymore. So
yeah, but
I don't know if
I
I'm
don't
worried
know,
about
man.
that.
All right, let's hear from her attorney, and then we'll hear from her in just a moment. First, here's John Fitzgibbons, who says that they're about to move on with their lives.
Well, it's over, and this time, this case is really over, and over for good.
Yeah, it better be, because if this woman so much as spits on a sidewalk while taking out the garbage, she's going back to prison, or going to prison for the first time. And furthermore, her attorney, John Fitzgibbons, says he hopes now that everyone can move on.
We only hope now that in the next few weeks, Debbie will basically fade to a footnote in everybody's memory, and that she and her family and friends can move on with their life, and the young man and his family can also do the same.
Fade to a footnote? Oh, no, I don't think so. I can see her 6 months from now at the grocery store, and the checkout guy asks her, "How you doing, man? How you doing?" Hey, you her, aren't you? You the one that was sleeping with that 14-year-old, aren't you? I recognize you. Uh-huh. Oh, yes, I'll keep checking your stuff out. She will always be a footnote? Oh, no. Look, you will see 2 years from now. You'll be at the grocery store looking at the tabloids, and there will be her picture with some, ridiculous caption underneath. Oh, no, indeed. She will always be the woman who turned that little boy out. She will always, she's not going to shake this. Further, Mr. Lafave, I'm sorry, the woman herself, Debbie, thanks her family.
I also would like to thank my parents, my friends, and my fiancé for their unconditional love and endless prayer.
Well, that's unconditional. And you know, maybe I'm just old school. Maybe I should be more forgiving. Maybe I should be able to understand marrying a woman who was on a backseat with a child.
Are you talking about this
2
guy?
years ago? Yes.
Ah, well, I guess he forgave, forgive and forget. I don't know if her ex-husband.
I don't know about forgiving and forgetting.
Well,
it's that trust thing that
Well, this guy, wasn't with her at the time. Her ex-husband, that'd be the one to talk to. Because after this all went down, he said, "See ya."
All right.
Enjoy prison.
More from the
Send me a postcard.
More from the press conference today, and listen to this carefully. As Deborah Lafave, the teacher who was getting it on with her middle school student, apologizes to him.
I pray with all my heart that the young man and his family will be able to move on with their lives. Again, I offer my deepest apology.
Are you buying this? Now let's talk about what I talked about a moment ago, and that is completely turning the tables here. Can you imagine a male teacher saying, I really want to apologize to my former girlfriend, my former student, and I really hope that her family can move along and we can all just go on with our lives. What? What? You are an adult entrusted with the safety, not to mention the education, and whatever, she was an English teacher, I think it was, of these students. But instead, you're on the back seat of a car with this child while his cousin is driving around town. Then you take him to your house on a separate occasion. Oh, no. Something's wrong with this. I'm sorry. Something is wrong with this case. I don't know what kind of politics this woman has down there in Ocala, Florida, but something's not right here. Something is definitely wrong. What is the message sent by the charges being dropped? If you just get the right junior high boy, you may never spend a day in jail? What's the message here? Pick 'em young. They may not testify, and you get off. What's the message here? This is definitely wrong. This is definitely wrong, if you ask me. And listen, for those of you who say, oh, Ed Buggs, haven't you ever made a mistake in your life? Absolutely. But I haven't molested some child and gotten off with it. Oh, no. This is not right. This is not right. Why are you laughing? This is not right.
Well, you kind of added a footnote to your statement. I haven't molested a child and gotten off with it.
Well, no, so I haven't molested a child at all.
Just put a period right there.
I haven't. Thank you, man. That's your
job.
No That's your job. Cover me, okay?
I got your back.
Yeah,
just you know.
and clearly the subject of molesting a child is not funny, but the point I'm making here is that certainly while we have all made mistakes, this is a bit egregious. And it wasn't a one-time occasion. That's what I'm talking about. They had an affair. I say, Ramsey, they had an affair, Poopsie, over several days. Yes. You know, somebody was... Okay, all right, don't go there.
Stop.
Boy, I could go there easily. I could go there.
Family show. No.
Family show. Family show.
Kids in the car.
Kids in the car. Somebody was having a good time. 4 times over 5 days? Come on. But the reality is, I would submit to you this poor boy has been ruined. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. It doesn't mean he can never be productive again in his life, but I'm telling you, his thoughts are ruined. At age 14, his perception of women, his perception of a healthy relationship is warped. What else could it be? After what he's been through, it's warped. when we come back. I want to talk to you about what lies ahead for this child, only 14 years old, all this media attention. What do you think his friends think about him? What do you think his friends say to him? Nobody move. We'll be back.
Hi, folks.
Ed Buggs keeps me happy.
Makes my body tingle.
You've gotta love it.
I love you just the way you are, the way you are.
The Ed Buggs Radio Show.
It's on and pop it like that.
Real talk, real people.
Kick it. Welcome back. Good to have you here on the Ed Buggs Show. Real talk, real people. We're at the bottom of the hour, live on 1550 AM WPFC. And let me not forget to remind you, you can always listen to our show live on the World Wide Web from 2 until 6 Central Time by logging on to edbugs.com. Again, that's edbugs.com. Click on the left of the home page. The icon says Listen Live, and you can join us across the country. All right, now, I want to talk about the impact to this boy, this 14-year-old boy that Deborah Lafave admits having an affair with. She's 25. She was the junior high school instructor. He was her 12-year-old at the time student. 12 years old. 12! I want to talk about the impact on him. I also want to get to some of your emails. And then a little later on, I want you to hear her comments at the press conference today in which she addresses this illness she has. An illness that she would have you and me believe explains away her behavior. This illness, literally, in fact, Matt, I'm going to start there with cut 0505. This illness, this is a really bad illness. In fact, people, if you're listening right now or watching at home, you want to watch out for this illness, because this illness will have you grabbing children and putting them in the back of a car and having sex with them on multiple occasions. This illness will have you taking young children to your home and having sex with them. This is a bad illness. It's called bipolar disorder. We've all heard of bipolar disorder, but I bet you haven't heard of what it can make you do. It made this woman do some ugly things. It's a good thing that she apparently is getting help now with her bipolar disorder. This means apparently she won't be grabbing any other children, young boys, and taking them home and doing her business with them. This is a really bad disease. I've heard of bipolar disorder, but I had no idea it would make you do these kinds of things. Listen now as she talks about her illness.
And had we gone to trial,
This
there
is
were
her
a number
attorney.
of psychiatrists that would have discussed in great detail Debbie's illness, the impact that this illness has on young women and people in general, and I think it would have been a very compelling story.
Bipolar disorder. Man, did I learn something today. You think maybe other child offenders or child molesters have bipolar disorder? This could be a medical breakthrough. Bipolar disorder. Oh, that explains it all. What a country. We just solved child molestation charges. We just solved it. They have bipolar disorder. Maybe we should let them go too. Maybe we should. I want to take you now to 0808, Matt. Let's skip down to 0808. And this is when, you got to hear this. This is when Debbie Lafave herself jumps on the media for not talking about her illness of bipolar disorder.
I want the world to see that bipolar is real. If anything, I'm tired of the media. I don't think not one time has the media brought up the subject of my bipolar. And I challenge you to read a book or an article on bipolar illness.
So, Debbie Lafave is not the bad guy. You and I are the bad guys because we have not read a book on bipolar disorder. Doggone it! Let's all rush out tonight on our way home and pick up a book on bipolar disorder so we can understand why this woman took this child off and had sex with him for days. She was out of control. It was not her fault. It wasn't really her fault. She had bipolar. So they should go lighter on her, man. You know, this really isn't right. Oh, baloney. Get over yourself. This woman's an animal, if you ask me. Any adult who takes a child and does this to them is an animal. Had this been a man, he would have been hung by now. There would have been calls for castration by now. Come on, America. Don't be deceived by this. This is ridiculous. Let me read some of your emails on this, sent in to ed@edbugs.com. Again, that's ed@edbugs.com. This is from Dale, who writes, Ed, I cannot believe this. Not only should she not be set free, she should be in jail for statutory rape. Amen, Dale. Amen. Had it been a man, one of the charges against him would have been statutory rape, as in rape of a minor. Carnal knowledge of a minor may well have been included in this. He says, we're talking about 20-plus year prison sentence. I don't care that she is attractive. She should be some Bertha's pet in prison. Another email, this one from Franny, who writes, Ed, I'm glad to see that Deborah Lafave has received counseling and treatment for her bipolar disorder. Oh, good grief, Franny. Franny, are you really buying this? Franny. Franny! There's more. She says, this is a case of a woman who is mentally ill and could not control her actions. I am glad she is able to move on with her life. Got a question for you, Franny. What about that 14-year-old? Huh? You think that 14-year-old can move on with his life? Huh? Let me ask you something, Franny. You're saying the victim here is Debbie Lafave. I'm telling you you're wrong, Franny. I'm telling you the victim here is that 14-year-old boy. And don't think for a moment, hey, man, he's a man, dude. You know, he's a hero. No, he's not a hero. He's a sick child. He's a very sick child. Talking about therapy for Debbie Lafave, it's that boy who needs to be in therapy today to get some sort of a real vision of what the world is like. It's not what he experienced with this woman. I got a lot more. I'm just getting pumped up on this one. You're listening to the Ed Buggs Radio Show. Real talk, real people.
This is the Ed Buggs Radio Show.
1, 2, 3.
Real talk, real
All set?
people. Talk radio the way I like it.
Thanks, Matt, and welcome back, everyone. Good to have you here on the Ed Buggs Show. Real talk, real people. About 41 minutes after the hour, we're talking about Debbie Lafave, the 25-year-old former middle school teacher in Central Florida. Actually, it is Ocala, Florida, who has been acquitted of all charges. Well, the charges have been dropped against her. Charges in 2 counties of Florida of having sex with one of her middle school students, who at the time was 12 years old. On one occasion, they were involved, I can call it that, they were involved in more than one parish. She traveled with this boy to be involved with him. We all know what we're talking about here. And on those occasions, because it happened in more than one county, charges were filed against her in more than one county. Apparently this boy is refusing to testify because of the cameras, the media, and everything else, and as a result, the charges have been dropped in both counties. It's over. I think it's a travesty, but it's over. A moment ago, I alluded to some of what this boy is up against, some of what is awaiting him, some of what his future is, or what lies ahead for this child, let me tell you something. That boy's life is going to be first of all, they're going to have to take him out of that school. There's no way he can go back to that school. You know how children are. You know how children are. Tommy, my man. You know, he's going to get all of that. He will never be able to live this down. The best thing I could suggest they do to this boy is send him to another school. I don't know if he's going to have to change his name or what, but kids find out. But listen to this email that just came in during the break from Doris. Here is a classic example of what I alluded to when the show first began. When the show first began this hour, I told you there are some people who have some twisted thinking about adults having encounters with juveniles, with children. This boy was 12 years old at the time. Doris writes, Ed, I know when I was 14, I knew what sex was. I'm sure this boy knew what he was doing and played an equal role in them having sex, as she did. If anything, Doris writes, because of her illness, he should be held more accountable. Leave Miss Lafave alone, Ed. Doris, you sick puppy. You sick puppy. I know when I was 14, she writes, I knew what sex was. He's 12, Doris. He's 12. And you know what? People like Doris don't get it. You got to think beyond the actual act itself. What about this boy's mind? What about his thinking going forward? It's warped. You know, this child's chances of drug and alcohol abuse will suddenly skyrocket. I'm telling you. And for those of you snickering behind the scenes right now thinking, oh, Ed, you ought to be happy for him. No! You ought to be sad for him. Oh, you know, this kid has not grown up yet, and he's already on the back seat of a car with a woman. Come on, this is a grown woman. No. And to let her walk like this? Let me go to the phones at 499-BUGS, 499-2847. Michelle, welcome. You're on the air. Hey, Michelle.
Hi. I am a middle school teacher, and I just wanted to make a few comments.
Please.
Some of the things I agree with what you're saying.
Yes.
And some of it, you know, I'm not in total agreement,
all right.
but I don't totally disagree.
Talk to me as a middle school teacher about the idea of any of your coworkers doing this with a child, Michelle.
Okay, I'm going to try and respond to your question as best as possible. I can't understand you clearly.
Okay.
You know, it's
all right.
The call is broken up. But as a middle school teacher, I teach approximately 122 kids.
Yes, ma'am.
60% of my students are roughly 65% are males. Many of these boys, as they really are,
yes,
have bodies of men. I'm only 5'2", and most of my students are standing 6'1" in middle school. They have the bodies of adults, and unfortunately, society is leading them to believe that they are adults. I don't buy that bipolar disorder.
Yeah, sure, I don't either.
She's using. I'm very familiar with bipolar disorder. My father has bipolar disorder, so I don't agree with that. He's not jumping in the back of a car with individuals having sex. That's an excuse, and I don't have to pick up a book to learn about that at all.
Hold on. Just hold on 1 second, because your call is important. When we'll come back, we will continue.
Buggs is on your radio.
Hi, folks. Ed Buggs here.
It's time for the moment you've been waiting for.
Hi, folks.
Ed Buggs.
Attention is on your radio. Oh, keep it real, keep it high. God.
All right, as we approach the top of the hour, we welcome you back on 1550 AM WPFC, the Ed Buggs Show. Real talk, real people. Deb Lafave, 25 years old, and today all charges against her for being involved with this, one of her middle school students, being involved sexually over a course of several days. All charges have been dropped, and we're talking about it. On the phone with us right now, a school teacher by the name of Michelle, a junior high school teacher. Michelle, you made the comment that today students are much bigger. You're not suggesting for a moment, are you, that you understand what this teacher did, are you?
Oh, no, that's not what I'm suggesting.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that, unfortunately, those with twisted minds, those sick individuals
Yes.
who look at these students who are very well developed, and I mean, not just boys, but the girls are also.
Yep.
They see something that people who have normal minds, normal ways of thinking, don't see. I couldn't for the life of me see myself trying to get involved with one of my students.
Yep.
I can't see that. But at the same time, if that lady had been a man, I'm quite sure they would not have dropped that. They would have put that issue.
No way. They would have buried him. Michelle, thank you. Good to talk with you at 499-BUGS, 499-2847. Another email, this one just in. This is from Jared, who writes, Ed, all I know is if I was teaching at a middle school and had sex with one of my students, there is no way I would receive the same fate as this woman. Heck yes, there is a double standard. Jared, thank you, my friend. I appreciate your email sent in to ed@edbugs.com. Again, that's ed@edbugs.com.